Okay, so you strike me as, I'm not sure, I was kind of on the fence. I'm trying to get a read. Are you a Jug Meat guy? Are you a Trudeau guy? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So
I am neither guy.
Yeah, not the Juggernaut. No, I'm just kidding. So a couple weeks ago, they announced this terrible federal budget. Like everybody in the business community is aghast. I personally think I've missed out on like at least $500,000 like in a day, just erased from something that we had under contract. But so with this budget, the big thing was the increase to the capital gains inclusion rate, going from 50% to 66%.
Yeah.
How does that impact the development landscape? Things that you're targeting, like sales that you have, but then also the retail investor. How does that impact things on your end?
Well, so this government is filled with liars. Right? I've never seen a federal government as bad as this.
Yeah.
He is the worst prime minister, perhaps the worst leader in the history of the modern world. He is a terrible, terrible, terrible leader.
Yeah.
And they're trying to sell it to Canadians that this is fair. The top tax rate in Canada is 54%. There's nothing fair about that. You're paying more than half of your taxes, half your income to taxes. And then on top of that, there's carbon taxes. If you buy a gallon of gas in the United States, if you take it's very tricky. We pay by liter.
Right.
People aren't good with that stuff called math. So when you take that and you figure out what the price of ours is versus the US, we are twice the price.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Mm-hmm.
Well, they're like $2.50 a gallon.
Wow. Yeah.
We're like $1.20 a liter.
Yeah.
There's 4.5 liters in a gallon. Yeah.
I drive a Tesla, so I don't know.
We're so stupid here. Right? We don't realize how overtaxed we are. We are one of the most overtaxed countries in the world. Yeah. And they want to tax us more. Yeah. And the thing about the thing that's terrible with the capital gains tax is that, there's this kind of like, I believe, and I listen very carefully to all the media drops because the federal government owns the media. They give them money now, so they all suck up to him. That's why our media has changed to be like all about Trudeau. Even the Globe and Mail is sucking up to Trudeau. Yeah, right.
It seems the Financial Post is the only one that's
it's the only one that's and the National Post.
Right.
Yeah. So they all get money from Trudeau, and so they'll lose the money if they step on Trudeau's feet. Right. So they do his bidding. But what's terrible about this is that. Many new Canadians, Indians and Chinese, and before that Italians and Portuguese, and all of them, they come here, and they're not often trading securities, right? That's just another level of sophistication that you gain over years of working as an investor. It's one of the probably last things you get into, but real estate's really simple for people to understand. And so you get people who are new Canadians that, like when there were taxis, all the taxi drivers knew me because I had tons of billboards and garbage cans. So I was very famous with taxi drivers. Mr. Lamb, so nice to meet you. And they would tell me their life story. And I can't tell you how many would tell me they bought a house. Their wife works, they work, they bought a house, they had their family relatives live in the house. Then they went off and bought their own house. And then they bought a condo in another house. And so they might have 3 or 4 homes. 1 they live in, and 3 they rent. And, they're not relying on the government. They're never unemployed. They don't have their hand out going, hey, save me, help me, give me food stamps. They just want to work because they come from a place where it's not possible ever to get wealthy, and they see the opportunities here and they go for it, and they struggle. They as Warren Buffett calls it, it's decreased consumption, right? He's got a term for it, but they just live with less. Right. They decide to, eat healthy, but they find cheaper places to get it. They don't go for dinner. They don't buy Starbucks coffee. They don't go on trips. They bear down for their family, and they end up owning real estate. And in the end, they can retire. They put their kids to university. Yeah. This is what we want here, right? And so this idiot has taken away the opportunity And people think 250,000 is a lot of money, but the average home price in Toronto is 1.1 million.
Right.
Okay. If you buy a home for 1.1 million, and then in 40 years you sell it for 2.5 million, which is not an impossible feat, and that's not that much given what you paid for it. Okay. So now only 250,000 of that, I'm not talking about this investment property, only 250,000 of that is taxed at the low rate. Now the rest is not, right? It's just, taking money from hardworking Canadians that save and struggle and do with less and don't rely on the government for anything.
Right.
They're independent and they don't want your government money.
Yeah.
And now you're making it harder for them to avoid it.
Right.
And it's sinister. And I think if you listen to the government, they don't want you buying investment property. They're now floating out there that
They want them to buy it.
It's unfair
Right.
for you to have excess housing. Why should you have a second home that you rent?
Right.
That's not fair. You're stealing home from those that need those homes.
Right.
Well, honestly, 40% of people in this country rent. And there will always be 40 or 50% of people in this country that rent. And some of them want to rent a fucking house. So if you don't own a rental house, where are they renting the house from?
Right.
It's part of the market.
Yeah.
We need people to be intrepid and take a chance and buy a house and rent it to some family who then gets the benefit of living in that house for a long term. They grow their kids and whatever. And there's people that want and need that. And to imply that in some way that's sinister and that there's some bad thing about that, or that you're stealing homes, is bullshit. And this is what they're trying to. So they're all of this is a plan. Okay, this is all a Trudeauian plan to diminish our lifestyles, take money out of our pockets, redistribute it to other people. That's what he wants to do. And he's just destroying the fabric of Canada with this.
Yeah. And it used to be, not only like 6-7 years ago, it felt like there was a lot to strive toward.
Mm-hmm.
The energy was different in the environment. You felt like you could produce, you weren't demonized. And now I would be shocked if doctors have come out and been like, this is horrible. Why would I work here? Already I shouldn't even be working here. But I think we're going to lose a lot of talent. But
for sure you are. I can tell you right now that
why would you start a startup in Canada now? But
when the US is right there.
Yeah. We're looking at ultimately moving our enterprise to the US.
Wow.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't do it quickly. I have too many things going on, but this guy,
yeah.
If he wins the next election, if he does win the next election, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm 100% out. He's going to ruin this country.
I could get on that program. I could stay in your guest house maybe.
Yeah. Not for free.
Yeah. He'll be your landlord.
Yeah. Sorry. I just back to that question though, in terms of how the increased inclusion rate, do you think that will are you now building that into your business?
No, I'm not. So my home is owned by a company and I rent from that company. My cottage is owned by a company and I rent from that company, and we rent it. I would say 98% of my wealth is held in companies.
Right.
So if I buy a property and I declare it to be a rental property for the long term, then I'm paying a capital gains rate on 26% instead of 54%. So as a company, it has less of a bearing on me than it does on the general consumer. And there's nothing I can do about it. There's no estate planning or planning you can do to avoid it. It's a tax. But if Pierre Poilievre, who I believe is the potential savior of this country, in from woke politics, from insane things going on in universities, from being overtaxed, from carbon taxes, from destroying the oil industry in Canada, which is a very important industry. And it's so crazy to destroy this industry when China and India are burning oil like motherfuckers anyways. Nothing we do here matters in terms of global warming. So we're going to destroy our biggest industry. So all of that, I think will be reversed under a new government. And so I think this tax will be reversed if we have a change in government in a year.
Yeah.
I think so. I wouldn't change everything for a short period of time. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that, obviously I hope that he gets in. For me, one thing I'm cognizant of is like if you walk around the Collier's office, if you walked around this office, or if you're on LinkedIn, because it's almost all business people, and those are the people that would follow me, for instance. You would think that everybody hates Trudeau. But then there's a contingent of like, say, my high school buddies or other people, different career paths, whatever. And they're like, no, he got a couple good ideas. So I'm just hoping,
it's like
you have the echo chamber.
It's like in the U.S., they have the worst president in the history of presidents. These two together are bobbleheads.
Right.
But even down there, if there's an election today, it would be like 51-49.
Yeah. Yes.
It's never going to be it's never going to be like, every seat is going to be blue, right? But what I do think, the last election, the Conservatives actually won on the popular vote. They got more votes than Trudeau did. But on the seat selection, how that happens, they lost. This time around, I think if you look at a seat count, I think they are I think they are firmly in the lead. But of course, it's a year and 4 months, 5 months away. Yeah. And a lot of stuff can happen in a year and 5 months. And some good things can happen to make Trudeau look better than he does now.
If they don't get a majority too, if Pierre wins without a majority, can he reverse a lot of the, horrible things that happen?
He would have to line up the bloc and I think the bloc, I think Quebec can't stand this guy either.
Yeah.
I think he'd have to get, and I don't know if that spinoff from the Conservative spinoff even exists anymore. The one that
PPC.
Yeah, he wanted to be the leader, and Maxime Bernier.
Yeah.
If he can get Maxime Bernier to come in, and he can get the bloc to come in, then he probably has a shot of running a minority government.